Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's Up America, the show where we find out exactly what is up America with me, your host, Rory Potstein. You know how this works. We divert from the crazy national news and take a look at a local story to see if America is the sum of its crazy parts. Must we focus on the president losing personnel like a Dutch boy who doesn't give a damn? In this installment, we take a look at Georgia. Georgia, who 1 year ago was on fire, and who was also on fire 154 years ago. Georgia's state motto is wisdom, justice, moderation. I'd like to take a look at 3 news stories to see if they match up with these words that make up the state motto. Our first story is regarding an open records request by Atlanta's Channel 2 Action News for information regarding unpaid water bills at a property owned by brother of former mayor of Atlanta, Kasim Reed. This unpaid water bill amounted to at least $9,000. Talk about running up a tab. That's a lot of money to spend on bottom shelf drinks. The record request was made March 7th last year for information pertaining to the water bills of one city council member. That same day, the mayor's press secretary texted a staffer in the mayor's communication office and said, "I'd be as unhelpful as possible. Drag this out as long as possible and provide information in the most confusing format available." After 2 weeks, a request was made by Channel 2 for information on all city council members and their water bills. The Georgia Open Record Act states that public agencies shall notify persons requesting records within 3 days when the records will be available and provide the records in a reasonable time frame. When the documents that were requested were finally delivered to Channel 2, they showed that 5 council members and the council president hadn't paid their water bills in full on a regular basis. How hard is it to pay your water bill in Atlanta? When you get it at Applebee's, it's free. When it comes to your house, you have to pay for it. Now, due to the mayor's office dragging its feet in releasing these documents, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation is opening the first ever criminal investigation into a violation of the Georgia Open Records Act. So, let's recap. The city council doesn't pay their water bills and waits for reporters to hound them for records, does not deliver those records, and causes the GBI to investigate criminal charges. This doesn't seem to demonstrate even the first word of the Georgia motto, wisdom. Our second story involves 2 Hall County Sheriff's deputies who engaged in a fistfight in which alcohol may have been a factor at a conference earlier this month. 2 men, Lieutenant Joe Fruver and Deputy Corey Gilliland, were at a restaurant in Columbus and got into an argument and exchanged blows. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say, yeah, they were drunk. By the way, Fruver and Gilliland sounds exactly like the cop duo that would get into this kind of mess. I can just imagine the sheriff threatening to pull their badges once a week. "Fruver and Gilliland, get into my office! Agitating my pots!" On top of the demotions, the men received unpaid suspensions and were removed from the department's SWAT team. SWAT! Special Weapons and Tactics. These guys who are the guys you call in when you need the best of the best. The most elite cops who don't buckle under pressure. These are the guys you call when a drug lord offers $100 million to whoever can get him out of jail. The plot of the movie SWAT. So, what could these guys have been fighting about at the restaurant? Who pays for the bill? What was on that bill? $9,000 worth of water? These men fall short of exemplifying the second word in Georgia's motto, justice. Our third and final story in this episode yet again revolves around state employees. The town of Blythe, 145 miles outside of Atlanta, held the election for their next mayor recently, and the victor, Philip Stewart, won by only 4 votes. What makes this election even more interesting is that one of those votes appears to have been bought. 35-year-old John Daniel Martin gave an underage voter alcohol to cast his vote for Stewart. Martin is a former Blythe City Councilman and a current candidate to fill a council vacancy in a May 22nd special election. The loser of the election, Cindy Parham, filed a civil action against Stewart on Tuesday contesting the election results and asking for a new election. Her suit contends at least 4 votes for Stewart were cast by people who were not residents of Blythe. Great. So if she wins her suit, the election is a tie. The Georgia Secretary of State's office is investigating the allegations. John Daniel Martin, the man that made this story so interesting by throwing alcohol at a problem to find a solution, clearly has not made it to the third word of Georgia's motto, moderation. After reviewing all these stories, I am really only left with one question. What is going on with government employees in Georgia? None of this makes any sense to me, so we go to Paige Hamilton in the field.
Thank you, Rory. This is Paige Hamilton reporting from Atlanta, Georgia. I know the string of incidents may seem puzzling to some, but the answer is really quite simple. It's the heat. See, Georgia has been trying to set itself on fire for centuries and did a pretty good job back in 1917. There actually aren't even benches out here because that would just be too risky. Don't worry about me, folks. I'm keeping an eye on the clock to make sure I don't burn to a crisp. So extreme heat is known to have a variety of effects on people, from nausea and dizziness to confusion and delusional thinking. So whether it's trying to cope by having a cold beer with your neighbor or deliberately trying to confuse the public, it all comes back to this: tradition. Oh, looks like it's about time to go. Back to you, Rory, and keep cool, America.
Well, thank you, Paige, for making a long story short. Tune in next time for more What's Up, America.